And we're back. So, measuring ecologically, these, at the very least, you need a basic temporal representation. This is really, to do any kind of research, you measure some change over time, generally speaking. But beyond that, there's what's called within-level analysis. This is based on Shin and Rapkin's work in 2000. This is measurement at one ecological level, generally the demo level, individuals, and it's aggregated, and it's often generalized to other levels. So we measure at the individual level, and then we say that we can make statements about society or about a community based on what individuals say. That's a very common form of research, working at one level and generalizing to another. The next level up from that is called cross-level analysis. And this is measuring systematically across multiple levels. So this would be measuring structural factors that are going on, as well as individual factors, and maybe measuring the connections between those. So if we were to look at kind of macroeconomic situations going on that are affecting populations in the United States, and then look at the individual actions of people on Wall Street and how those individual actions and the networks of those individuals ended up creating this, creating all of these economic difficulties, and then how those economic difficulties in turn created this untenable situation for individuals who ended up losing their homes. You could see how you could measure at multiple levels systematically and see connections that would be extremely meaningful and add a lot of richness to the research and understanding and ability to hopefully create change or change situations that you wouldn't be able to get with just within-level analysis alone. Then trans-level analysis, and this is kind of the holy grail of measuring ecologically. This is systematically measuring relationships within and across multiple levels over time, sufficient enough to measure stable patterns and true anomalies. So what we get is measuring at these multiple levels in between those levels, just like we did in cross-level analysis, but doing it over time, not just like a basic temporal representation where maybe you do before and after some sort of intervention, but you do it enough that you actually start to have kind of a model of what goes on in any particular situation. At the community level, you could look at local economic conditions, housing availability, number of people who are experiencing homelessness, number of people who are employed versus unemployed, all of those things. And you could start to see over time that there are patterns, and you could see those stable patterns, and then you could also see when anomalies happen. When you have a spike in number of jobs, is that seasonal, or is that something that's absolutely new and a real anomaly? Can you predict because of previous policies that some new policy is going to have an impact on housing, or is it going to just fizzle away? You can answer those kinds of questions when you're looking at this trans level of analysis. So that's if you can get to that level, which is quite rare, you can start to make predictions that you couldn't do otherwise. So applying ecological validity to other problems in living. This is your job. So what I want you to answer on the discussion forum is, how has your topic of interest, and you can take your topic from your paradigm paper, or you can choose another topic if you want, just something of interest to you. How has it been influenced by phenomena at each ecological level? Briefly describe contributions from each level. Then, and that would be the input. Then, what networks of power currently act upon your topic of interest, and how do you fit into that web of power? So that's the kind of process stage, where things are right now. And then what ecological levels are likely to be changed positively and negatively by intervention? So you can describe an existing and or proposed intervention and its likely impacts at each level. So say, if I were thinking about homelessness, describe what I've kind of described to you already about how at each level, how has this been influenced by things at each level, like I did. And then I would talk about the networks of power currently acting upon it and how I fit into it. And then I would talk about either an intervention that's already gone on. So I could talk about maybe temporary housing situations and that sort of thing. Those are an intervention that's going on right now. But then I could also talk about maybe a proposed intervention. Like if I thought that permanent supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness would be a good way to go, I could treat that as my proposed intervention and then talk about what levels that would impact Would it just impact individuals? Would it aim to change things at a more structural level? Would I be talking about something as high as macro system, looking at federal subsidies for housing? Who knows? It could be any of those things, and you get to choose that when thinking about your problem in particular. So that's what you'll be doing in the discussion forum, which you can post by Wednesday. So you don't have to put this into some sort of narrative form. You can really just list the levels with examples for each. So you kind of have these three things: the input, process, and outcomes, and or impact. And you can just have a list of the levels from the demo system to the geo system, and just paste in a statement for each of them. So this doesn't have to be crazy. Now you'll note that there's no additional reading for this week. I'm quite aware that this is fall break, so all you have to do is watch this video and respond to it. So hopefully you can do that. Make sure that by Wednesday you posted an initial original post, and then by next Tuesday you'll want to have responded twice to other people's. So that gives you Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that if you're doing something based on fall break, you can do that and then come back on Monday and respond. But you need to get your first post up by Wednesday at midnight so that people can respond to them. So this is our new drill, and starting the week after, we're going to be a little more rigorous about making sure that the readings are completed. So go to the discussion forum and comment on these. So that's all for this week.